This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. Not everyone is careful with your personal information, which might explain why there's a victim of identity theft every 5 seconds in the US. Fortunately, there's LifeLock. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second for threats to your identity. If your identity is stolen, a US-based restoration specialist will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year by visiting lifelock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
Ladies, you'll end up shopping for your guy's deodorant, right? So try Degree's Original Cool Rush. You see, last year, Degree changed the formula, and men were mad. One guy even started a petition. So Degree admitted they messed up and brought the Original Cool Rush scent back. It's clean, crisp, and actually smells like someone you want to cuddle. And it's in Walmart, Target, and other stores now for under $4. So toss one in your cart and find out why it's the best-selling men's antiperspirant for the last decade. Degree Cool Rush is back, and it smells like victory.
War Eagle, and welcome to episode 2 of Ever to Podcast, our somewhat regular get-together with you here in audio format on E2C Network, where we share the Auburn experience. That Auburn experience is all about Auburn sports, Auburn culture, and Auburn family stuff. An easier way to say it, if it's orange and blue, it's what we do. Thank you so much again for joining us today. My name is Kyle. If you haven't heard of me or seen me, met me before, one of the main voices here at E2C Network, we appreciate you being with us today and being here to talk about the Auburn experience. As we addressed yesterday, this is a brand new venture that we're going on, trying to see if we can do this on a somewhat regular basis for you in the midweeks. And I guess yesterday, too, I should have prefaced that this is something that has taken a form differently previously. I wanted to do something in the past in the form of a blog, and I realized that I just wasn't as engaged in that as I needed to be. It was called Neath the Sun-Kissed Sky. You never say things won't ever come back. It might. But I've always wanted to communicate on a more regular basis and audio format, and we did something like this on our YouTube channel for a while, which we just didn't feel like had run its course. But this audio format, I think, will work really well for this. Just my personal musings and wanting to share and talk to you guys about what's going on in the Auburn experience. Again, currently we got a lot of news stuff that we're talking about, and will be a lot of what we discuss. But we want it to be about general conversations. I want to hear from you, the Auburn family. So don't be shy. Hit us up at e2cnetwork@gmail.com with comments, questions about anything that we talk about here on the shows, or things that you want discussed in Ever to Podcast. Let's get into things today. I would obviously not want to waste any time here, because I know most of you are here for the sports angle of this. And yesterday, on Monday, today is May the 13th, Tuesday, May the 13th, 2025, the NBA Combine seemed to get going with a lot of its things in terms of measurements, in terms of all those types of things that people are looking for to gauge what value a particular prospect might have in regards to the NBA. And why is this important to Auburn? Obviously, after their historic 2024-25 season, the two biggest names out of that were obviously fifth-year senior Johni Broome, without eligibility anymore, moving on into the NBA draft, and Tahad Pettiford, the freshman phenom, getting a crack at the NBA and seeing if he will be able to get a favorable draft pick. Now, listen, I, again, am not one to really offer up prognostications about that. There are plenty of people that do that, and most of them are wrong. And I think sometimes we obsess about that too much. But we are going to talk about the facts here, and maybe talk about what we can aggregate together and talk about with this new information, what the future might look like for that. So let's start with Johni Broome first, because we know Johni's not coming back. I wish he was. It would be amazing. One of the greatest in Auburn basketball history that we just got to witness. But at the NBA draft combine, he was listed at 6'9", quarter of an inch, I guess, barefoot. So they do this barefoot to take away any advantages that you have of what shoes you're wearing, things like that. 249.9 pounds with a 7'125" wingspan, 9'1.5" standing reach. So obviously maybe a little bit shorter than he was listed at with his shoes on and stuff like that, but that's typical. I always list what I'm at with shoes on, to be honest with you. But there you go. There is his particular measurements. We'll talk about in just a second what prognostications are out there for those particular guys. But let's talk about Tahad Pettiford. His measurements: 6'1" barefoot, 168.8 in pounds, 6'5" wingspan, 8.5 standing reach. I saw a lot of people talking about they were shocked that he was actually 6 foot barefoot. I never thought that he was shorter than that. I think there's been a lot of discussion in terms of will his height keep him from going higher in the draft this particular season. I not know that he's going to get much taller. Most of us have done most of our growing by the time you get to college, at least maybe growing up, growing out. Those of us who put on the freshman, not just 15, but freshman 30. That was me. And I needed it too because I was a scrawny individual. Anyway, back to these guys. So those are your measurables. Again, there is still other events and things to be done. This is just the first bit of information. But of course, when you get new information, everybody puts out their very first, or their latest, I should say, very first, their latest projections of where people will go. I saw Tahad be in the upper part of the first draft in some, and I saw him being in the second draft pretty solidly in some. I think the consensus still is pretty early second draft from what I was able to aggregate together. Seems like Janai also is going to be an early second round based off all of those people together prognosticating. So I think we're basically where a lot of people were estimating way, way too early before we even got to the NBA draft combine. Nothing's really changed in that format. And to me, I think you probably look at that and go, Tahad probably got some information that based off of that he was expecting to get, and thus maybe no needle has been moved one way or the other. I would still just say it's really up to him at this point, obviously, and what he decides that he wants to take a risk on or not. But certainly we'd love to have him back. But we're wishing Janai well. One other quick note related to this. Dylan Cardwell, by the way, I should have brought this up the other day, had some great stats, and I didn't pull them up in time, but he has been playing in the G League. I think Miles Kelly is as well. But Dylan had like 10 points, several rebounds, and was just showing that typical pick and roll style thing. He did so well here at Auburn, and how he can do that at that level with that type of talent surrounding him. It's a great thing for Dylan Cardwell. Obviously wishing him well. No matter what he decides to do in life, he's going to succeed. But we'd love to see him continue to play basketball in some format. So there's your NBA draft combine updates. Again, folks, just settle in. We got a long way to go. We're not going to know any decisions for a while now. I want to give you an update. Today is a game day for Auburn baseball, their final midweek game versus Jacksonville State. Do not sleep on these midweek games, folks. I know it's the last one, and especially these teams from Alabama. They are typically very, very good. And people hear Jacksonville State, Troy, Sanford, UAB maybe not so much, but they just go, oh, well, Auburn's supposed to win those. And that's probably the truth in a lot of other sports too. But in baseball, there's a lot of parity across that sport. So don't sleep on this thing. We'll certainly talk about it tomorrow. I'd like to see them finish in a strong fashion. They've only lost 4 non-conference games, one of those being they won the game previously with Jacksonville State. But this one, obviously, you want to end on a strong note, to end on a very strong note for your final week of competition in regular season play for Auburn baseball. Men's golf had an outstanding first day of their regional play in Auburn, mind you, hosting a regional. They were up by, I think, this is what I'm looking at right now. I think this is actually incorrect, but it was 13, minus 13 on the leaderboard. The closest one to them was UCLA with -5. Maybe that was it. That's actually correct. The point being, they are off to a great start. I think even Coach Nick Kleiner was quoted as saying, need to keep the foot on the gas, because I think you have a tendency, if you get off to such a hot start, to kind of pare down just a little bit. Certainly don't want to do that. You've got some very formidable teams here. So the leaderboard as standed yesterday, and they're playing right now as we talked. So this will be kind of a moot point later on in the day. Auburn, UCLA, Georgia Tech, SMU, Purdue, Texas A&M, New Mexico State, TCU, Arkansas, Little Rock, Charleston, Oregon, Loyola, Maryland, and UC Upstate. And Auburn is firmly in the lead as the number 1 overall seed in the NCAA tournament, or in the rankings right now, and obviously hosting their regional. So much more to come from that. We're going to have lots of good sports updates over the next couple days in terms of results and things that we want to talk about. as time goes on. So we've talked about the draft. We've talked about that. I also want to mention a couple of smaller things that I think are really cool to note that people will miss amongst some of the bigger stories. NFL, we've already talked about the draft, who was picked up as free agents, as a draftee. Luke Deal got a mini camp invite, I think it was, former tight end for Auburn. He actually got signed from that mini camp. He and several others for the Detroit Lions. So Tiger to Lion. It's nice to see another Auburn Tiger going back up there to Detroit, most recently Carlton Davis and Kerryon Johnson. But Luke Deal got signed to the roster. Now, that doesn't mean anything's guaranteed for him, but that's a great sign when you didn't even get a free agent traditional deal. You got a mini camp invite, and then you're working your way into the roster that shows what he was able to show and what he can provide for the team, a value being on that particular roster. I love seeing that because I love the story of Luke Deal. He was a great leader for Auburn over the last several years, and what he's been through in his life is something, if you haven't read up on him, make sure you go and read up the stories on him. And let's see if there's any final things we want to bring up today to round out. There was a new leadership for the Auburn flag line announced. Her name, I had it pulled up for me, and now I pulled it off. Miss Michaela Dougherty. Miss Kayla, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that right, but the new flag line leadership is out there. And Mama Goldberg's is going to be doing a free biscuit with any purchase from now until August 10th. So if this is the Magnolia location. So if you want to go try their breakfast for the first time, that was something that we shared out yesterday. And there's a cool topic here that we'll probably save for tomorrow about Auburn's upcoming series with Miami, but we'll leave that for now. I think we've covered enough updates for you in the Ever to Podcast segment. A couple reminders for you, and then I want to ask you a final question to get us out of here today. Obviously, we would love for you to follow and subscribe everywhere you are getting this. Please do that. It's a huge, huge help for us. If you want to connect with us, you can do that. If you look on the description for this audio podcast, you'll find one link that'll take you everywhere. There's an email also provided. We'd love to hear feedback from you on what you like, you don't like, what you want to hear more of in this short format, what topics you want to propose that we talk about here, or just questions you want to have read on the show. e2cnetwork@gmail.com. As always, we appreciate you being here and hanging out with us. Our final question for you, based off what you just heard from me, what do you think? Does Tahad Pettiford come back to Auburn? Give me a percentage confidence. I want to hear that from you. And if you send us any of those, we might read them here live on the podcast of Ever the Podcast. Once again, thanks for hanging out and being with us today. Until we talk to you again, War Eagle.